So for those of you who want to look up the question again, so you can read the scoring guideline in more detail, which is fabulous. This is the 2011 scoring guideline form B. So just Google AP Statistics 2011 scoring guideline form B, question 1. Remember, I would still like it if you would watch the video. But that's what you look up if you want to look at it. Looking for a different color. We'll use yellow this time. So part A, describe how you would use the histograms to estimate the median PT ratio for each group, east and west of states. Then use this procedure to estimate the median of the west group and the median of the east group. So here's what I said. I would take the number of states n and add 1, then divide by 2, or just write an equation, or n plus 1 divided by 2, to figure out what value is the median value. Then I would start from the left and I would count that many values over to get the median. So for west, it's 24 plus 1 divided by 2 is 12.5, so it's between the 12th and 13th state. East, 26 plus 1, which is 13.5, so it's between the 13th and 14th state. So let's see. They also gave the median equation. They found the 12th and the 13th and the 14th. They showed what everything added up to. I just showed on the table. I actually wrote approximately what the numbers were. The median for both groups is at least 15 students and at most 16. So I said it's between, the PT ratio is between 15 and 16. And I wrote that for both. So let's look at the scoring guideline and see what they asked for. Oh, we're not there yet. There we go. Essentially correct if the correct estimation method is described and appropriate estimated values between 15 and 16 are provided. Okay, I had all that. I had the between 15 and 16. I described the method. Partially correct, so I have an essentially. Partially correct if the response describes the correct estimation method, but the estimates are not provided. The response provides a method that conveys the idea of the median as the middle value, but is not entirely correct. For example, if you describe it as the 12th value rather than the average of the 12th and the 13th value, and it provides reasonable estimates. Partially correct if the response gives an incomplete description of the method and provides reasonable estimates. Or the response shows the work only on the histogram and correct estimates are provided, but no verbal explanation or written in words explanation of the method is given. Incorrect if you didn't meet those criteria. Part B, write a few sentences to compare the distribution of PT ratios for states in the two groups, West and East, during the 2001-2002 school year. So just like we talked about with the previous question, don't forget your socks. We're going to state the shape, state the outliers, and then compare and state the center and the spread. The shape of the distribution for PT ratios is skewed right for states west of the Mississippi and approximately normal for states to the east. Neither have any outliers. The median PT ratio for both groups is between 15 and 16. The range is greater for states to the east, between 10 and 8, than states to the west. It's between 7 and 5 there. So they probably wrote the same, almost the same. The shapes of the two histograms are different. The histogram for states that are west is unimodal and skewed to the right. Yes, I said it was skewed to the right. I didn't say unimodal, but that's okay. And then east is unimodal, and they said nearly symmetric. I said approximately normal. It's kind of got a bell shape. I wasn't sure if I should quite call it normal since it's not, I don't know. It should be fine. We'll read the notes. As noted in part A, the medians are about the same. The histogram also shows there's more variability in the PT ratios for states that are west of the Mississippi, although the greatest and least values for each state are not known. The range can be approximated. They say a lot of words. The range for the west is at most 22 minus 12 equals 10, and the range for the east is at most 19 minus 12 equals 7. Okay, let's check our scoring guideline. Essentially correct if appropriate comparative statements are made for the centers, the shapes, and the spread. Note the shape of the east histogram can be described as skewed, approximately symmetric, or approximately normal. However, if the shape is described as symmetric or normal, part B cannot be scored as an E. Ooh, sneaky. Did I say the word approximate? Yep, approximately normal. So it's not really a perfect bell curve. It is a little bit skewed. So they're allowing, that was for the east, right? Yep. So they required you to have the word approximately normal or approximately symmetrical to get essentially correct. And they didn't count off for no outliers, but you should have put it because you don't know if they're going to count off or not. I compared my medians. I said for both groups, it's this value. And then I also compared my ranges. So I compared at least one of them. Yeah. I'm going more based off the more current guidelines. If you stated the shapes, you stated the outlier, the center, and the spread. I have everything it says. Make sure you have everything it says too. Partially correct if all three comparative statements are not made. So if you left off the shape, the center, or the spread, or if only, oh, but correct information is given. So if you just stated the spread or the center, so if you only stated those, you have to make sure you compared them. So here I said both, here I said it's greater. Make sure you compare them. If you failed to compare one of them but you gave correct statements, that's 3 out of 3. I mean, that's partially correct, sorry. Oh, this is good. If a comparative statement about medians is made in Part A or in Part C, this can count for a comparison of the center in Part B. So if up here you said both medians are this, but then you didn't compare them down here, they're giving you credit. They're also giving you credit if you said both medians are the same in Part C, which is pretty nice. So if you left that out here, they still gave you credit. I would put it here. Remember, it's better to have too much rather than not enough. Not as much as they put, but I would still put it, but they're still giving you credit. Let's look at Part C. Oh, this was essentially correct. Since the west PT graph is skewed to the right, the mean will be greater than the median. The east graph is approximately symmetrical, so the mean and median will be similar. Since both graphs have the same median, so here I compared the median, so if I had forgotten it in B, I would still get credit. The mean for the west will be greater than the mean for the east. So they said the medians of the two distributions are about the same as determined in Part A. The distribution for PT ratios for states that are west of the Mississippi is skewed right, indicating the mean will probably be higher. The rough symmetry for the east group indicates the mean will be close to the median. Thus, the mean for the west group will probably be greater than the mean for the east group. Very similar, almost exactly the same. Essentially correct if the response indicates the west group has a higher mean than the east. The west will be greater than the east. And provides a justification based on the relationship between means and medians for distributions of the different shapes. So I have that up here. Partially correct for any of the following. If the response indicates that the west group, so that should be an E. If the response indicates the west group has a higher mean, but justification is not based on the relationship between means and medians. The response indicates a correct statement about relative size of the mean and median, but does not explicitly compare the means of the two groups. So if you didn't, so like if you stopped there, yeah, if you just did the first sentence or 2 sentences, however much that is, if you stopped at the word similar like that, that would be partially correct because I didn't explicitly compare the means like I did in the last sentence. Two E's and a P is a 3 out of 4. EEI is a 2 out of 4. EPP or EPI is a 2 out of 4, or PPP is a 2 out of 4. EII or PPI is a 1 out of 4. So that's all right here.